Hello, friends. It's time for Talk for Dodge, the show that uncovers the stories behind the houses and the heart of our community. I'm Jeremiahjcondon.
And I'm Todd McCubbin, and today we are here with City Manager David Fierke. But before we get into that, let's do a quick market update.
Market update. Let's skip to Featured House. Featured House here in Fort Dodge, 228 North 21st Street for $114,900. And it's in a nice little street, tucked away.
Yep.
Quiet little street. 3-bedroom, 1 full bath. There's another 3/4 in the basement. Kind of an unfinished basement, but definitely usable.
Yeah, it's a nice little house. I've been in it a couple of times. It's kind of funny, and David's here, so we can kind of talk about affordable housing. $115,000 for a house you can move into tomorrow and live. You don't need to do a bunch of update. It's safe. It's got when everything works like it should. There aren't a whole lot of places in this country where $115,000 is that nice a house.
Yeah, and it's a nice neighborhood too.
Yeah, beautiful neighborhood. I saw one in Des Moines come up similar to this, and it was in that $225 range. Like, it's such a great thing being in Fort Dodge where you can live in a house like this for, just over $100,000. So
yes, move in, live, fenced in yard, garage, everything. Nice. So then we go to the market. According to, we always compare last year's numbers with this year's numbers, and we're actually down almost across the board on everything except for our average sales price.
It's up. It's been up all year.
It's been up. It's gone up every single year since 2019. And, but I saw today there was a 35% surge this week because the lowest interest rates hit over the weekend.
Oh, yeah, they've gone way
this
down.
week.
Have you read them? I got the ones from Green State, First State, all of them in the last day or two, and all of them are just trending down big time.
And I've constantly predicted if we can hit 6, it'll explode.
Yep.
Again.
Yeah, and I saw 5.5.
Okay. Well, there you go.
So,
and there's a story out this morning about how everything is setting up to be a huge fall/autumn.
Yep.
Not fall crash. Fall is in autumn.
I am waiting. I can't wait. We'll just call it September, October.
There you go.
So we're really happy to have David Fierke with us here today. We've rescheduled a couple of times, and I have to ask his favorite question: what's new with the city? No, I'm kidding. There's a lot of stuff going on with the city. Kind of the biggest and the elephant in the room is the corridor. What's that thing? Can you tell us about it?
Oh, the Corridor Plaza is the name of it. Yeah,
that huge building. What is that?
Oh, the huge building. Yeah, that'll be the pavilion.
Thing's huge.
Yeah, I know. It really. Once they started putting the steel up, you really see the size of it. Yeah, it's.
Well, I see it every day because I go to JMR's almost every single day.
Oh, yeah.
And this is going off topic, but my wife asked me where all my money goes. It's like, well, 33% goes to Uncle Sam, 50% goes to her, and 1% goes to JMR's.
There you go.
Just so I can see what's going on at the Corridor Plaza.
Yeah. Every day.
No, that pavilion is a really cool component that we, early on in the corridor redevelopment effort, before anybody saw anything, when it was still the Crossroads Mall, we knew the malls were not going to continue to exist in our size economy, and it was going to be something new. And we looked at what are the things that could bring people to an area, and the pavilion concept was kind of formed there, that it would be a multi-use place to bring people for activities. Sports is probably going to be a key one, because it'll be set up with basketball courts, volleyball courts, pickleball, and we're talking tournaments that over the weekends where people come, a couple hundred people, a couple hundred families come and have their kids in different events and tournaments. And I think that's what really is going to be the nice add-on to the retail that's going in there, because that'll attract people. And we're trying to get that, trying to attract that sports tourist, which is people spend a lot of money on that. And
it's unreal. Yeah. When my kids were that age, we didn't do any of this stuff. And I got buddies with kids, teenagers, middle schoolers, and they're at softball, they're at volleyball, they're at baseball, they're at every weekend. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I have kids in activities, and it gets pretty busy, and you end up, when you're traveling, you end up spending a lot of money on food and hotels and stuff like that. So we think integrating that concept into a shopping center will do well. It'll create that draw that the mall didn't have anymore. So it should I think really be a nice asset to that. We're also going to create an open air plaza next to it, which will be a public plaza, and it'll be set up for people just to just to hang out. There'll be some play features on it. There'll be a little stage if some bands want to perform out there. So it could be a really cool feature in good weather. Maybe also we think hosting farmers markets and food truck days and things like that. So we're really trying to create a sense of place where there can be events that people want to go to, and not just shopping. And then the shopping's part of it too.
I love it. I
like the food truck days.
Yeah, those are cool.
Years ago, I was talking to a friend, and he goes, every drop in the bucket raises the water level a little bit. And it's just so great to see stuff happening there because it helps the rest of the town.
Well,
And also dealing in commercial real estate, when you took the mall down, it made it a lot easier to rent out commercial space because we just had way too much of it. The mall was 250,000 square feet or something ridiculous like that. And when you take out all that space, and they're almost giving it away.
Well, yeah, and that was the problem. And I think you saw reverberations even as we hear downtown, where that when the mall was first open, it was Class A space, so it was expensive, and you had the major national retailers in there, and then the ma and pa type of shops came to places like downtown and inhabited this and created that great environment here. Well, then when the mall basically became I don't know what the
Class
real
B,
estate
Class
term
C,
BC bottom, but
Dying.
Dying. I mean, they were like I said, they were giving away space that really hurt, and even hurt I think the downtown. So with the redevelopment of the mall, I think that does help create vitality, like you said, all over the community.
It helped. Every little drop raises that level just a little bit. And I'm kind of, I don't want to say selfish, but you think about Fort Frenzy and you think about this and having those sports teams, they all can't be there at the same time. They're going to be out, they're going to be shopping, they're going to be at Frenzy, they're going to be at Godfathers, they're going to be at Shiny Top.
So were you busy at like state softball?
Yes. It was a really good week. Shiny Top had a great week. Frenzy had a great week. I mean, that all helps. The hotels had great weeks.
Oh, yeah.
So it really does. Every little drop. And if you can repeat that weekend after weekend after weekend, that's because don't they do like pickleball tournaments and do volleyball tournaments and do basketball tournaments and rotate that through the winter.
That's the idea, and especially wintertime, because it's easier to get tourists in the warm weather here, but trying to keep that wintertime crowd coming is an important element. This will do a good job at that too.
That's
so
awesome.
How many pickleball courts are going to be in this bad boy?
I try to remember the schematic. I think just a couple, 2 or 3, even though it's way bigger than that. You could put it all. But I think, the developer and an owner understands that there's a need for that. And so he can have people come out and do that.
I've been going to the pickleball courts like every other night, and they're like packed. And I thought this was an old person game. Oh my gosh. It's like all high school and college kids just destroying it, and it's awesome.
It's interesting because I remember playing it like 30 years ago in college, and that's the first time I ever saw it, and played it a couple times, and then never saw it again until a couple years ago. It became
I had
this
no
big
idea
rage.
what it was until I worked at the prison, and those guys played it all the time in the gym. They were always playing pickleball, and I'm like, I thought it was a prison game.
Just a made up prison game.
Yeah, and all of a sudden it's here and everybody's
There you go.
Now we're building complexes and stuff to support it.
You got to have pickleball now.
Oh yeah.
Fort Dodge being a tertiary market and getting something like that, what are the challenges in doing that? I mean, there's a lot of, the governor talks about how great Fort Dodge is for putting this together and doing something with a mall like that. What are the challenges, and how do you overcome those?
I think the biggest challenge is our market size and the hesitancy of retailers to either take a chance or what they're willing to pay in rent, and for a market size like us. And that has probably been the biggest struggle. I remember I joked when we were first talking about this project, it's like, oh great, we're going to do this huge investment and then we're going to have a recession, because we have one every 10 years, and when we were due for one. Yep. What I forgot is we also have global pandemics every 100 years, and we were due for one of those too. So I missed that projection. But that really kind of hurt things. And obviously, the retail market has kind of felt that shuddering too. So it's been a struggle, and it's required a significant amount of public investment into the project to try to get your national retailers and put them in a space that takes quite a bit to build and make it work in Fort Dodge. So it's been, so I hate to use, I guess struggle is a good term. It's been a lot of work. I mean, it does take a lot of effort, takes a lot of progressive thinking, on the part of the city council to say, we're willing to make this investment, take this risk, and do this project.
We had Mayor Bemrick on a few weeks ago, and he, talked about how the city council works so well with the city staff. And, I remember a couple of terms where it wasn't so easy to get stuff done. And I was having a conversation with, I believe it was Dennis Plotz, and he goes, you know what, every once in a while we do need to kind of slow down and rethink things and make sure we're on the right track. So maybe having this council that slowed things down wasn't a terrible thing. It made us actually think through what we needed to do. And I'm like, that's a good point. It's a way to put a good spin on, sometimes we need a little controversy, and then it puts us on the right track in the next election.
Yep. Yeah. And I always tell folks, even council members and staff, it's not unhealthy to have somebody have a different thought or a different idea and push back at an initiative, because that requires us to then think more and say, and really just, okay, let's reflect on what we're doing here. Is this really the right thing to do? We have someone, whether on our council or in the public that's objecting to this. So let's make sure are we really thinking this through? Are we doing the best thing possible? So it keeps us, for lack of a better term, on our toes and making sure we're doing the best work possible. So I don't mind conflict. I don't mind controversy, as long as it's healthy and healthy towards doing the right thing.
Well, at Iowa Central, I had a psychology teacher that talked about that and said the students had their own student board or whatever. Mm-hmm. And this one kid came on it and they were agreeing on everything. And this one kid came on and just started arguing every single thing. And at first, everybody was mad and was really upset. But then once he slowed them all down, they started thinking about the bad things that were happening on these things. And it's like, oh my gosh, we do need to work through those before we implement them. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And at the end of the year, they were like, wow, this kid was the best person for this board to
asking
help.
All the questions.
Yeah. Asked all the questions, because everyone's like, yay, move forward. And it's like, whoa, there's
and I think politicians fall into it's called groupthink.
Yeah,
and if you get a lot of politicians, especially at higher levels, that don't surround themselves by any opposition, and they believe everybody thinks the way they do because nobody argues with them, and it creates a lot of issues. And I think it has. I mean, you look at the local now we're not going to get into politics, but you look at the separation between the left and the right, and it's really, really bad, because they all think everybody believes exactly as they do, when I think most of the country's in the middle. Next, I kind of want to talk about other projects. We talked about what other projects are going on right now that you're particularly proud of or have the biggest influence on what's going on with the city?
Well, I mean, if you want to jump into case for 8, we want to talk about that.
Let's
that's
talk
kind
about
of a
it
big thing because it's coming up here. So we have on a special election ballot for September 10th the question that goes to the voters on whether the city council can implement a 5% franchise fee on gas and electric utilities, and the purpose of the money is to help fund or primarily fund additional police officers in our police department for the city of Fort Dodge. And we're going to add 8 police officers. That's why we call it the case for 8. It's got a little,
I like it.
A little rhyme to it. And the purpose behind that is we're going to add, we have 4 shifts. We run 4 12-hour shifts. So we're going to add 1 officer to each shift that's going to be primarily set aside to do proactive kind of stuff. And then I think the coolest part about this plan is the community action team, which is going to be 3 police officers, and their shifts are going to move throughout the week and throughout day. And they're going to be the ones that are going to do proactive work, whether it could be surveillance, it could be serving warrants, it could be doing other kind of very proactive work on areas where we have issues, or we have, if crime's picking up in a neighborhood, they can do special patrols on that. And then we're going to add one general crimes detective as well.
That's awesome. So
that is great.
Initially, I didn't think this was a great idea when it first came out. You get those oh, come on, 5%, and we pay a lot of electric bills.
Yeah.
And I was like, but if it adds additional police officers, and every time I talk to somebody coming from out of town and they Google us and they're like, well, it's the crime rate, this, that. I'm like, well,
Little Chicago.
Yeah, we had the police chief on too, so we talked about that. If you want to listen to that, it's a great little episode about how
Chief Quinn was great. And one of the things that what you were just talking about, it opens up the other officers to be able to do public service. I think that's what I got the most out of Chief Quinn, is how he wants to do more and more public service. And when you're constantly working, you can't public service.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, you got to be out there doing stuff.
He's incredibly dedicated to public service. I mean, you see him at about every event there is, and he wants the same thing from his officers. And and right now our officers, which our staffing's pretty low. In fact, if you look at the cities in Iowa our size, we have the lowest staffed police department of any. And we're tied with Ottumwa, but everyone else has more police officers than us. But they run 31,000-ish calls a year, and if you divide that up under the amount of police officers we have, they're basically just going call to call to call to call, so they can't.
That's almost 100 a day. Can you imagine trying to keep up with that?
Yeah, and so it's 100 a day, and there's
still trying to do public service stuff.
Yeah,
right after we had them on the show, I took the kids to school the next morning, and all the police officers were giving all the kids high fives on the way into the school.
Yep.
Yeah.
What a cool little thing to do.
Yeah, you got to try to build that relationship and build a relationship with the kids younger. That cops are good people and there to help, and hopefully turn them into people who want to become cops later.
Oh yeah. If we do hire 8 more, where does that put us in that statistic with the rest of the state?
That compared to our so we looked at our comparable group, which is cities that are about 20 to 30,000 in Iowa. That puts us at the same level as Mason City at 48, which is kind of the top. You look at like a Burlington, I think, is at 45, and Muscatine somewhere around there, and I think Marshalltown is in kind of in that low 40s, and then it's about 8 to 10. No, about 8 cities we look at about the same. So yeah, we'll be staffed up then at that point.
And I loved it. I was at Rotary when you and Chief Quinn were there, and he talked about, now I want everybody to know, we get these additional 8 officers, it's going to look worse for a couple of years. And he goes, because we're catching people, and that's what we want to do. So just know that for a couple of years, give us 5 years before you make a judgment on how well this worked. And I loved how he said that, because I'm like, I never thought of it that way, that, we're going to get 8 more officers out there. We're going to start catching these people. And honestly, when you look at violent crime, and Quinn talked about this, it's a very small percentage of the population. So I think having those additional 8 officers and 4 of them that can concentrate just on that population, I think it is going to raise crime for a year or two, but it's going to really have an effect on getting those people off the streets, whether they go to prison or whether they just displace them and they go somewhere else. I mean, I really don't care as long as they're not here.
And we don't have that big of a problem anyway.
No, it's the same people doing the same things to the same people. Yeah,
Fort Dodge is a unique city, and we've tried to have this discussion with folks, when they're trying to recruit people to Fort Dodge, and they, the applicant looks at our crime stats and goes, "Oh, I don't want to go there. It's not safe." And we got to tell them it's a very safe community, and it really is just a smaller portion of our population that is committing most of these crimes. I mean, we showed one stat, and I'm probably going to mess up the actual figure, so maybe I'll be a little more general about it, is like, I think across the United States, only about 50% of violent crime victims know their offenders. I think we're like in the 90s. We looked at the stat, because people know each other. These are beefs. These are arguments that turn into other issues.
You and me have a beef, so you and I go at it.
It turns into an argument.
Random.
It doesn't turn into a fist fight. It goes, I'm going to shoot up your house, and you shoot up my house. Next thing you know, someone's killing somebody. And that's 2023 was horrible for that. I mean, we had, I can't remember how many homicides, and most of them young people that age 20 or younger. Even some were teenagers, and it was all over, just beefs that just escalated into gun violence, and it's sad and totally wasteful. But we think with having the more cops, and we know when these things start happening. There was just last week there was a couple shootings down in the south side. Nobody was hit, thankfully, but there are some beefs that are starting to grow. If we had this community action team, they could be focused on talking to people who saw what, who knows who, and what. Next thing you know, you're starting to get in their business and stopping it. Before somebody gets killed.
It's like you see those videos with police officers playing basketball with them on the street and stuff. It's like, that's cool, and to have a couple extra officers to actually have time to not go take another call and have 20 minutes to hang around with somebody. Yeah,
no, that's beneficial too. And you build the relationships, and then the person down the street who may have saw something now has a relationship with the police officer, is willing to say something. And then also sometimes these people that will escalate it to gun violence, they're most likely doing other things that are illegal too. So you can start interdicting that behavior, and that can help, again, get them
clean it
off
up
the street.
Displace them or whatever it takes, or just get them to hopefully become productive.
So Chief's right. We're going to see an increase, and hopefully you see an increase in drug calls and gun busts, not violence, but getting guns off the street, getting drunk busts. But the goal is to see the violent stuff go down, the violent crime go down. And ultimately it all should go down once people realize this isn't a place to come and do crime.
I'm excited for the next 10 years. I know we've been doing this for 4, 5, 6 months now. And every time we do one, I'm just more excited to live in Fort Dodge and grow here and see the community grow and what it's growing into. It just gets better by the day.
Well, I've been here for almost 18 years. And when I started, public safety was the number one thing. We did that in Vision 2030, and public safety was the number one issue. We had public safety summits. It's always been the issue, and it's been something I think we've nibbled at a little bit around the edges. We've done major, we've added a couple cops here. We've done some stuff with some different, staffing, but now we're doing something big, and I'm excited about it because finally I've been here 18 years, and maybe we can really finally just get this dealt with.
Let's get after it because it needs to happen.
So that comes to vote on September 10th?
September 10th, yes.
Okay.
And it's a special election, so it's not all polling places. It's City Hall, it's the school administration building, and then First Covenant Church over on the west side.
When does voting open up for early voting? If you can, because you can just go to the county courthouse and vote at some point.
I should know that number. I don't. It might be open now, honestly.
Okay. I think I'm going to be gone that day, so I might go up and vote now. And like I said, I was saying earlier, I'm like, I was opposed to this when it first came out. Then I started talking to you. I started talking to Cameron. We had Chief Quinn on. And I'm like, and seeing all that money go to more police officers, I'm like, this just needs to happen.
Yeah.
And early on,
who does it hurt?
Yeah.
I mean, there's no negative to it.
Well, no. Unless you want to be committing crimes in Fort Dodge, it's probably going to not be pleasant for you.
We're going to bully everybody and say, you either vote this way or you're one of the problem.
No, I mean, yeah, it doesn't. I mean, the normal law-abiding citizen, I mean, it doesn't hurt. It's a benefit. I think, obviously there's a cost. There's a 5% increase in your gas and electric bills.
And we talked about that a little bit at Rotary, and there was kind of some numbers you put with that for the average gas and the average light bill. Do you remember what those are?
Yeah, well, I have them here, so give me a sec. So like the average electrical increase will be $3.70, and the natural gas increase will be $3.15, so $16.85 overall.
So if your average gas and light bill is $150, $170 a month, like most, I think that's about average. It's going to go up about $6, which, I mean, $6. I think it's great for 8 new police officers, and if let's say there's an overage, let's say you hire the 8 and there's still $100,000 left, does that just go to police cars, or it stays in the police department? Where does that go?
Well, and that's so we'll have to see, because there will be cars that need to be bought first. So I mean the expenses are going to be up some years and maybe down some years, and if we get to 8, that we'll just have to see. I mean, I've heard that question asked before. It's like, where's all the money going to go? And it's like, well, I can't predict like what our tax levy is going to be, because our primary support of the police fund now is the tax levy. I can't predict what that's going to be in the future. It's been going down and things like that. And the other one that's a key revenue for the cops is the automated enforcement. And I know some people don't like the automated enforcement, but it is a revenue source that if it goes away, I mean, that right now that pays for, I mean, it pays for over a cop right now.
My tailgate trailer got a ticket once,
so. It's hard to say, what do you, once you got all the cops, what are you going to do with all the money? I say, I don't know, because I see a future where our basic property tax revenue continues to erode. So I think keeping this in place is just going to help keep the cops, funded and fully funded for as long as possible.
I love it. And I didn't even think about that. You think of salary for a cop and benefits and everything else, would they say $100,000 a year?
About that, yeah.
And now you put a car on top of that. The first year, there's another $40,000, $50,000.
Yeah. The cars are getting expensive. Yeah, they're pushing over almost close to 50 equipped, and they last 3 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's it.
Supervisor Stowe's a good friend of mine, and he used to be in charge of fixing all the police cars. And he goes, I don't know how they can break these things so fast. He used to get so mad. It was great.
Yeah, So, car dealers talk about good miles and bad miles on a cop car. They're all bad. They're all bad.
There's no such thing as a good mile.
No. It's either full on or full off on those things. Not necessarily, but yeah, I mean, they're getting pursuits and they're run hard.
I was talking to a husband of a police officer.
Yeah.
And she was like taking off, and he just so happened to like pull her up on phone. It's like, oh my gosh, she's driving down Highway 7 at like 90 miles per hour for like a really long time. It's like, what's going on?
Something's happening.
Going somewhere hot, that's for sure.
All right, let's switch over to the budget, because that's always a really fun topic. Mm-hmm. How do you make sure every dollar is working hard for the people of Fort Dodge?
Well, yeah, that's a tough question. If I were to say this in kind of general terms, I mean, we have we have a pretty detailed budget process that the council has to go through, and we identify things by line and go through that. And that's just the stuff that people see publicly. On the private side, the finance director and myself, Jeff Numbers and myself, we go through each department budget line by line and question what it's going for and is it necessary. And typically, Fort Dodge is not we're always in more of a budget, if not cut, retrenchment mode, and how to do more with less. And we're constantly looking at that because we just don't grow like you'd see a suburban Des Moines community whose values might just double. And like a Waukee. Whereas, I'm not saying Waukee is inefficient. They're probably efficient too. They're well run, but there's a lot more, let's say, less pressure than we have, where we have to try to deliver services as efficient as possible with limiting and sometimes shrinking resources. So it's almost just ingrained in the culture is that you got to do things as efficient as possible. The other thing, and we've done this for 10 or 12 years, is we've done lean government, which is a approach to process improvements similar to like Toyota Manufacturing has done, for 30, 40 years now. But, we've been doing it to look at the way we do things and find the most efficient way to do it, knowing that, budgets are always limited, and how do we deliver the services as efficiently as possible, still deliver quality services to our people. So that's kind of the process. We go into almost every budget session with the staff and say, look, there's no extra money. You got to figure out how to do this, or there might be less money. So figure out how you're going to deliver your services.
Yeah. And so your primary sources of income are the general fund, which comes out of the property taxes.
Yeah, about half the general fund is property taxes, and the other half is kind of fees for service and things like that.
I always wondered how that worked.
I'm in a job where people love to pay property taxes all the time. It's usually the first question. So what are the taxes on this house as opposed to this house?
It's all based on value. So if you buy a $200,000 house, it's going to be about the same whether it's here or over there.
It's going to be a little cheaper than the $400,000 home.
Yeah.
Well, it's like on my end when people say, "Are my taxes going up because of this?" And I go, "Well, I don't know. What's your value? Is your value going to change? Have you done an improvement?" All that stuff is related, and it's not just the city taxes. It could be the county, it could be the school districts, it could be the college. There's a whole bunch of taxing. So,
and the county sets value, and when you get that thing in the mail, make sure you look at it and say, "Is my house really worth this?" Yeah. And if not, talk to Angie and
buy the house, rip the siding off, throw some ugly paint on it, and get the values down.
There you go. I actually think so. Here's my property tax reform idea: is property taxes should be based off square feet, not the condition of your property. Because you shouldn't be have an advantage because your house looks like crap and you let it go to, And if you make your house nice, you shouldn't be charged more because I think it should be off square footage.
Yeah, and we have staff that try to keep people from letting their houses go to crap.
Oh yeah.
So one of the things the cities do is nuisance enforcement and try to keep property maintenance. So
if I paint my house purple and let it go,
you can do that. That's
well, you can buy it and tear it down. We're going to put a whole new street here just to get rid of this one house.
Yeah, we bought a purple house. Yeah.
Fort Dodge has really cleaned up a lot of area with really, really bad houses.
There's no side of town you can come into now where you're driving by. I guess by Starlight, there's a junkyard there, but they do a pretty good job of covering it up. And then you get in the Starlight and all that's cleaned up, and they cleaned up that old building there.
Mm-hmm. It's getting better. Yeah, that was like, that Northwest corridor was like, okay, we got to work on that. We worked on the main corridor. We worked on, the other entrances, the cross, what am I thinking? The crosstown connector, kind of cleaned all that.
Burying all those, who would have known burying some power lines would make it look that much better?
Yeah. I still have a picture in my office that was taken, I think my first year here. It was Vicky Reek and I fist bumping as a big piece of equipment is demolishing the old there was a pawn shop there. I think there was a bar in the back
Mickey's.
of it. Yeah, Mickey's
dugout.
So that was like our first project that when I was here that we acquired the property and demoed it, and people were asking me, so what are you going to do with it? I go, I don't have a plan yet. I'm just trying to get rid of it right now. It's that bad. It wasn't just us. I remember talking to folks at the hospital. It's like, yeah, when we bring doctors in town, we take them off that street at that point because it just looks so bad. I'm like, yeah, that's why we're getting rid of it.
Yeah.
And now it took a long time, but we sold it. Now it's rebuilt.
20 years ago, I heard about stories that were 20 years prior to that it would rain and rainwater would just go right through the floor of the dugout.
Oh, yeah.
Like it would just go
Yep.
through the building and out the front door.
Yeah.
What?
Creative Cakes was in it too.
Yeah, that's right.
Gosh.
Oh, the other thing I wanted to talk about, and I got it put in my house yesterday, was Fort Dodge Fiber.
Oh, awesome.
And
Good for you. I'm jealous. Mine's supposed to be coming anytime now.
I got a gigabit download off of it.
Sweet.
But apparently my Wi-Fi is broke because my Wi-Fi will only get like 40, and they're like, you're going to have to get a new Wi-Fi. I'm like, oh, I don't want to get a new Wi-Fi.
Oh,
but
well, you
it
can
is
just do all that
amazing.
through fiber. You can. I'm just getting a whole package, getting the modem and the Wi-Fi and a Wi-Fi extender through them.
I
Yeah.
am way
It's pretty
too
nice.
much of a control freak for that.
Oh, but then, see, and maybe that's just the opposite. I'm just the opposite. I'm like, I want to make this somebody else's problem. So if it
Yeah.
doesn't work, I'm calling someone else. I'm like, oh, is it my router? Is it the extender? What did my kid do? It's like, hey, come fix my problem.
Yeah, come take
Yep.
care of it.
Yeah, it's worry-free Wi-Fi. I think it's awesome.
Oh my gosh, we had like 4 or 5 extenders through our whole house, and there's like times where you had to change your Wi-Fi, and then the printers won't work because they're on different Wi-Fi's. It was very bad. And then fiber came, hooked everything up. I came home, and Jenny's like, "Oh, it's all on one now." It's like, oh, that is so
Did you get the
awesome.
worry-free Wi-Fi?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know
See,
why.
now you don't have to
I think
worry
so.
anymore. Like Todd over here's got to worry.
I have 50 smart devices on my router.
Oh
If we put a new router in, it's going to take me 2 weeks to reprogram
No, don't
everything.
do that.
Yeah, just let them do it.
It's like 40 light bulbs that turn on and off by
but you have to
themselves.
reprogram all your other devices. Yeah. I got you
Yeah,
there.
I just had to laugh because they asked, we can do that. And I'm like, you don't want to do that to my house, and I don't want to spend 2 weeks putting this back on. But I was so excited to get a gigabit download on my computer. It
sweet.
it was so amazing. And I had Starlink on my house because that was the most dependable in my block because we're at the end of a circuit and it would break all the time. And I'm just excited to have, super fast downloads. Starlink did great, don't get me wrong, but it's just super, super nice to have a really, really good fiber connection that everybody I've talked to is just in love with it, and just great job. Thank
I
you
haven't
for
had
that.
an issue. It's been about a month we've had it.
Yeah, I'm
been great.
I'm scheduled to get it on the 26th and can't wait.
That's so awesome. Thank you for that.
So just so you know, the city manager
was
didn't get
that
anything special treatment here. I don't have it yet.
That was another thing Todd was against when it first was announced.
I was, because 5G came out at the same time and Starlink was coming out at the same time. And I'm like, everything's going to all this mobile stuff. And then, I'm like, what is a waste of money. And then I was looking at it and I'm on all these Facebook pages and all this other stuff and Reddit. And they're like,
Started educating yourself.
No, if you can get fiber, because if it comes to you, don't pass it up and keep this, get fiber, because being on there and having that lightning fast, and that technology is going to be around for another 30, 40 years. It's not, it's still new technology as far as all that's concerned.
I was telling all my investors and all my clients like a year ago, when you could sign up, it's like, sign up, get your houses in there. And even all the rental properties, because they're going to want it, and if nobody's signing them up, sign them up.
Well, and I think it helps your property value if you're hooked up to fiber too. That's what we were told by some of our experts. It's like, it could be a bump in your value just knowing that it's ready to go, even if they don't use it. But
That's actually a new feature that's coming out in our MLS is if the house has fiber.
there you go.
There's actually a button. There's only like 7 or 8 buttons, and one of them is what the local fiber and is if you have it and who you contact.
It needs updated, but I clicked on one of the houses the other day and it didn't have it right, but it's going to take time to get that all right. And I think it makes it easier to sell, especially to a young population.
Oh yeah.
And I have moved probably 10 people here in the last 2 years. Well, since COVID, 10 to 12 that work remotely. And they're like, what's your internet? You'd go through it. Now you can say, we have fiber coming to the house, and
They work
if you want to work
remotely,
from home.
and they want to have an acreage out in the middle of nowhere surrounded with trees.
Yep.
Who doesn't?
And they're like, well, but what's the internet? It's like, oh boy.
And now the whole county's getting it.
Yeah, the county's going to get it. And the nice thing about our fiber is, you have 1 gig down, you have 1 gig up as well. So the folks that are working from home have a lot more speed going up than what you'd have.
So if the whole county gets it, does that mean rural too? Can like all
Yes,
the acreages
rural.
get
Yes,
out there now?
they're getting it through WebCal.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think most
And
of
my brother and sister-in-law are getting it put in next week. They're so excited. Yeah. They've been running super, super slow since they built the house 13 years ago. And
wow.
Yeah, he was all excited because he had a new camera system put in, and he goes, "Once we get fiber, it'll actually work right on my phone."
Yeah, it's nice. And one other thing you mentioned about the 5G is, back when we were having the same discussions internally, like, is this the right thing to do? We got to do something. And then, we were talking with, experts and advisors, and they look, 5G needs fiber to be, you got to have enough antennas all over the town to make 5G work. So if you have the fiber, they're going to lease the fiber from you. So
right.
it was like, okay, there we go.
That makes sense.
There's another way to sell fiber. Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, if that comes, we're going to be, heck, there's fiber all over the place now. So we'll be able to connect right to it.
And we do have 5G. I get it every once in a while in town. They've got a couple towers that'll hit 5G.
What do you need 5G for?
It's fast.
Okay.
It's fast on your phone. So when it first came out, I was in downtown Chicago, and I saw 5G pop up on my phone, and I did a gigabit up and a gigabit down on Wi-Fi on my phone outside of, I think it was Willis Tower. I'm like, this is so cool.
Everything he said with me.
Right over
like,
his
I did a gigabyte. I was like, yay.
Yeah.
I have no idea what that even means.
It means it's fast.
I'm like old school.
Yeah.
He's the old man, but I'm the old school one.
So I remember years ago we had an app that you could put on your phone that if you had an issue with the city, you could take a picture of it and upload it on the app. We've got a lot of stuff going on, but there's always those little potholes and there's always stuff like that. How do people let the city know about that? Is it easier just to call, or is there a way to
And you could probably
email?
tie like junk day into that.
Well, you can. Is that
Yeah.
a setup? Or this is the last week
I don't
of
know.
Junk Day,
That's
though.
pretty cool.
So,
Because my wife, we do it every year.
yeah. So we, get to Todd's question, then we'll get to the Junk Day one, because you get me all excited because this is all improvements we've made over time. So we started with an app that was called Text My Gov, and it was doing some stuff we liked, but other things that were just kind of a little bit clunky. So then we switched, and the app was called C-Click Fix. We are now at Text My Gov, which you don't need an app. All you need is a number, 408-9888.
Okay.
You text that number, and you can text with hi, and then it'll start going through a whole bunch of things of what you can do. Or if it's a pothole, you can text pothole, and it'll then prompt you through where is it at and give a description. And then that's all you need to do and send it in.
Nice.
So Text My Gov, which is 408-9888. And for Junk Days, which we don't have the 4 days in the spring like we used to do years ago. We now do Junk Days on demand all summer long, even though this is the last week of it. So I think
this will come out this week. So let's talk about next year when it opens.
So next year when it opens, which usually we try to start it like around Memorial Day, before Memorial Day, and run it for about 15 to 16 weeks. And what you do is you just text that number again, that 408-9888, and just text junk, and it'll say, basically walk you through your address and then your collection day for garbage, because we collect the bulk items the same day we collect garbage, and they'll ask you about what you have. And that's all you need to do. As long as you do that before noon, the day before your collection day, which is a little tricky for the Monday people.
I was going to say, we'd have to do it on Friday.
That means you have to do it Friday.
Right.
So, and then that will just get automatically put into a list, and we hire a bunch of college kids that drive around with a pickup truck and a trailer and just collect all that junk. And collect the junk for free. If you have tires, there's a charge for tires, and there's a charge for appliances and TVs as well. And you can buy stickers for those at City Hall and just stick it on the thing.
And I'll give a little tip. If you do it like 3 days ahead of time, and you throw that refrigerator out there, someone else will come and get it.
Don't put the sticker on until the morning of.
Yeah, until the morning of.
Yes.
There you go.
I promise.
I saved somebody $10 today.
I did not know, like, every time we do that, how much good junk we have.
Oh, really?
Because we put it all out, and
We had one year where it was gone before Junk Day showed up.
Yeah. Well, when I lived over on the south side, we took the clotheslines out, and I had a buddy come, and I dug a hole about a half a foot, and then he took his saw and cut it. I carry that out, and somebody took it, and I'm like, dude, I have another one. Like, do you want the other one before you get too far away? Like, if you wait like 5 minutes, you can have two.
You can have both.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's our neighborhood turned into a madhouse during Junk Days. It's kind of nice. It's not all the time now.
Yeah, that was kind of a crazy time.
We had a new hot water heater like a week before that Junk Day, and we took the old one out knowing that you couldn't do it. Literally 10 minutes later, this high school kid comes driving by with a truck with like 7 or 8 hot water heaters in it and throws that one in.
Well, I remember putting out a big 27-inch like tube TV, and I wrote on it, "It works," and just put it out on junk days because I knew somebody was going to come take it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I forgot about that. That's cool. There's so much stuff we can talk about. There's always something with the city. You know, say what's going on with the city. That is a big question.
People used to have like junk day parties. Like they'd throw so much junk out and then sit out in the front yard and watch people like take stuff. And
I know. I remember hearing that story. I never went to it. One of our former employees said he would always have a junk day party. They'd come over and have pizza and just watch people pick junk. Okay.
I have one bad story. Should I tell it?
No.
So my
wife, tell it anyway.
My wife had just gotten a new litter box, and this was when junk days was still pretty popular. And so I went and got the old litter box, took it out there, and she's like, "Are you going to clean it?" I'm like, "Why am I going to clean it when we're throwing it away?" And it looked perfectly fine. Well, some guy came and started looking at it and picking it up. And I just like stood there, and Jenny's like, "Oh, he's not going to take it. He's going to dump it out, right?" And it's like, he's not going to dump it in my yard, especially if I'm standing here. And he ended up taking it. And it was a litter box just full of poo.
Oh my gosh.
Well, maybe he needed a litter box.
Yeah, it was free. It was free.
Yeah, we used to tell the kids, don't leave your bikes out. Bring your bikes inside.
Yes.
Like the week before.
Bring everything inside,
Yeah.
because you never know. That looks like it's good. Let's take it. I think I lost some bikes over the years.
Well, is there anything else you'd like to tell us, or is there anything that the community can help with?
Well, again, to reiterate the case for 8, I mean, I can't tell you how to vote because I got to be neutral, but yeah, the voting is again September 10th for the case for 8 to add the 8 police officers. So I think, people just, go out and get your voice heard, however you choose to vote.
I can be one side or the other, and I'm going to say get your butt out there and vote yes, because I think this is going to have a major improvement on our. We're finally, like you said earlier, taking a big step in the right direction to address the elephant in the room that's been there for 18 years. It's been as long as I've lived here. Well, 1980. So
this is a solution to a problem.
Yeah, and I think it's a good one, and it's being creative on how you find the money, and I appreciate it. And vote yes on September 10th. Correct?
Yes.
Or go up to the courthouse early and vote. I'll be up there.
Yeah.
And if you have a pothole, call 408-988.
Text.
Text.
Call it.
Text.
Yeah,
Text.
Just text it.
You can do that, Jeremiah. Awesome. Well, thank you for being here. This was it's a great hour to have you on here, and hopefully we make a difference on the case for 8.
Yeah, thanks. It's been a lot of fun. I appreciate your invite.
Maybe we'll do it again in a year and see what's changed.
Sure.
Yes.
Awesome. Thanks, Dave.
All right, you're welcome.
That's a wrap at today's episode of Talk Fort Dodge.
Stay connected with us on social media and join us next time as we continue exploring Fort Dodge's stories through the lens of 2 lifelong Dodgers. I'm Jeremiahjcondon.
And I'm Todd McCubbin, and this is Talk Fort Dodge.
This podcast is produced by Spin Market Digital. Located in Fort Dodge, Iowa, Spin Market's highly skilled team can help you increase your market by updating your website, improving SEO, designing advertisements, and producing podcasts that will grab the attention of your market. Contact Spin Market today for all your digital marketing needs at digitalagent@spinmarket.com or call us at 515-302-8026. And to learn more, visit our website at www.spinmarket.com. That's digitalagent@spinmarket.com or 515-302-8026. Or visit our website at www.spinmarket.com.